I would apologize for the speed paint that you're about to see, but this movie won't apologize to me for its assault against my mortal soul, so hopefully I can make you feel some of the pain I felt in the theater. Enjoy the video. Sonic the Hedgehog, directed by Jeff Fowler, the man whose exclusive claim to fame is the 4-minute-long short film Gopher Broke. And written by the guys who brought us Dorm Days and Dorm Days 2, is in the simplest way I can put it, completely terrible. I actually had a more enjoyable time watching Cats because at least that was so weird it was mesmerizing. This was just awful. There is so much to dissect here. Of course, as always, we will start with non-spoilers, though I'm not sure how much there is worth spoiling, but never mind that. Also, as a disclaimer, I am not a Sonic fan. The most I ever played was Mario and Sonic at the 2008 Winter Olympic Games on the Wii. So if you managed to enjoy this movie purely on nostalgic terms of being a Sonic fan and getting to see a Sonic movie on the screen, congratulations, you're a happier person than I am. But I watched this purely as its own movie, so that's how I will be reviewing it. I'll just start with talking about the design and CG for Sonic, since that's how this movie got infamous online in the first place. The design we actually got in the movie is a lot better than the first design, and bless the definitely overworked animation and CG team who had to redo all of that, but it was still strange at times. I mean, visually it just doesn't look like it belongs there, it's just kind of plopped in, which, it's not something I'll gripe too much about. It ended up looking okay enough compared to what we could have gotten, at least. But man, there are a few times where a non-CG'd character is like holding Sonic, or they touch him and their hand clearly isn't even touching the CG'd in model. It's just touching the differently shaped green monstrosity they probably had in its place during filming. And similar to Cats, with their feet not really touching the ground, once you notice, you can never not notice it. And oh god, there is a scene where Sonic is under a blanket and being held by Tom, and it is like clearly just a broom handle with a basketball or something stuck to it underneath the blanket. It is really bad. The CG for some of Dr. Robotnik's stuff looked okay, definitely more realistic, though still had that like kind of CG look to it, you know what I mean? His whole visual design and aesthetic, while a bit more accurate to the source from my understanding, was still so like cartoony and out of place with the rest of everything in the film, and I think it was intentional. Like, he's so weird and out there, it's supposed to be funny. And I say that because there are like some jokes throughout the film referencing this, but his whole visual design and the over-the-top personality and behavior just contributes to a larger problem in this film, that not a single person acts like a human being in any capacity. The dialogue is so laughably bad and completely unrealistic. Nobody asks the most basic of questions or responds to anything with a shred of human logic or emotion. Everyone is just a caricature of a person. And I have two theories about why this is. One, Sonic in his lonely isolation finally lost his sanity, and then based only off his proxy knowledge of humanity, from his spending years observing them and their media from a safe distance, orchestrated this entire movie in a hallucination as a way for him to cope with his lack of true connection and friendship. And therefore, in this hellish world in Sonic's mind, everyone talks and acts the best way that he understands people, which is inaccurate and cartoonish at best. And number two, the writers gave less than two shits and or are just not very good at writing. Because seriously, the entire movie feels like an alien with only secondhand observational knowledge of humanity writing how they think humans would talk and act. And this extends to like the humor. There is a lot of humor in this movie, and it is all so bad. There were a couple of times where I was like, that's mildly funny, like purely internally, and that was it. And the jokes in this are a non-stop onslaught. I think all I need to say for this is that Sonic Fortnite dances twice. It is all so incredibly juvenile, and not just juvenile in your classic fart jokes way, but oh, rest assured, those are in this movie too. But there is just nothing clever about any of it, and the jokes are so forced, and they don't even necessarily have anything to do with the scenario at hand. It's just all unnatural and weird. It's so odd and unsettling. And at times they even make jokes that just actively make the plot more confusing. You may say, well, isn't this a kid's movie? Why do you expect the plot or the humor to be good? I expect it to be good because kids' movies can be good. Children deserve better than this. And it was so strange because like I was in a theater mixed with kids and adults, and the adults for some reason laughed more than the kids. Oh, I should also mention that some of them started clapping at the end of the movie, and with those claps I felt the last pieces of my sanity slip away. The rest of what I have to complain about is spoiler stuff. So just as the last thing, would I recommend this? Absolutely not. Even as a Sonic fan, I can't imagine getting much out of this, though clearly some people in my theater did, so maybe I'm just insane. But it has an awful story, it is mind-numbingly dumb, and nothing the characters do or say makes any sense, and the humor is just atrocious. I would not see this, like, if my life depended on it. So for spoiler stuff, let's start expanding a tad more on the craziness of these characters and the plot. Characters do dumb things to advance an even dumber plot. Dr. Robotnik is apparently a government worker, but he never even identifies himself as one, and the Tom guy never thinks to like question this or think maybe, hey, he's really screwing up his and his wife's life by doing all of this. I mean, of course he ultimately faces no negative consequences for any of this, because why would he? And near the end of the film, like he flashes his badge at the receptionist of the building, and even she notices that it's from Montana, and yet he still gets roof access. Never mind that we already saw Sonic at the very beginning of this movie run like straight up a structure and into the air, but he can't do that now because we need the happy couple to hilariously fall off the building towards the ground in a way that reminded me of the villain death from Catwoman. Or never mind just giving the roof access card to Sonic so he could run back up to the door that he had already done a few seconds ago. No, we need to set up a kidnapping joke where Sonic continues to act like a complete and utter idiot in this movie by being loud on what is supposed to be a kind of stealthy mission. That's a pretty consistent thing that happens in this movie. There is a sister-in-law character whose sole purpose is just to inexplicably hate the main guy for absolutely no reason. We never learn why she hates him, she never changes her mind about it, that whole shtick never goes anywhere or does anything. I think she was meant to be like comedic for adults to relate to, because, you know, we all know somebody who just wants us to constantly divorce our significant other, right? I have absolutely no idea why she was in this movie. I also love how at one point Sonic and Tom are able to convince people that Sonic is a 43-year-old man with a skin condition. You know? Sure. Why not? Like, just why? He wasn't even disguised well. And like this whole scene, like the whole setup of it is so weird because we have this guy who is essentially on the run from the United States government, going to hang around a place where he was just talking on a phone line that he knew the people looking for him were listening in on and could have been tracking. Of course they weren't, because, you know, portals to faraway spaces in the galaxy are things, but tracking technologies aren't. The entire premise of the rising action of the story makes absolutely no sense. Like, Sonic decides that he needs to be taken to San Francisco because he doesn't know where it is, despite the fact that it probably would have been faster for Sonic to just randomly run around the world until he found it. But even worse, Sonic can read, so why not like show him on a map? I mean, he just saw the sign showing where the giant rubber ball band thing was, and I am pretty sure it said it was something like 10 miles away, which is a sizable distance. And just off that sign, he was able to find it in no time flat. But no, Sonic, who spends most of the movie going on and on about the importance of friends and people you care about, decides that it is better to actively endanger someone he cares about because I guess nobody knows what a map is in this movie. And as a side note, this whole plot like kicks off because a grown-ass man decided to wear a "I'm heading to San Francisco" shirt. When, and better question, why would he buy and then wear that? Ah yes, I am human moving to a new human city. I must show love of future resident city by wearing torso clothing declaring love of said future human resident city. This movie simultaneously sets up how overpowered its hero and its villain are, but then just turn their abilities on and off as the plot needs tension to happen. Sonic can do that slow time Quicksilver sometimes, but other times we need drama, so he just lets himself get blown up, I guess. Dr. Robotnik can calculate their position based off of the type of car and, local weather conditions, apparently. Yes, this is incredibly dumb in its own right, but it is what the movie establishes can happen. But then he can't seem to find them until it's time for the semi-final showdown in the middle of the big city. And anyways, after those shenanigans, we get to the actual final showdown, and the main couple are just in the middle of the town for some reason, despite being dropped off in a barn after Catwoman villaining towards the concrete earlier. Also, it's the middle of the night in the town when Sonic shows up, even though it was daytime when the guy and the girl got dropped in, and it was daytime time in San Francisco, which Montana is only an hour ahead of them, it wouldn't go from the middle of the day to pitch black like that. But then the bright lightning effects wouldn't look as cool, would they? I mean, there was like that montage of them racing around various famous locales of Earth, but that didn't seem to take very long, so it still doesn't make a lot of sense. I also take a lot of issue with what the moral of this story is meant to be. It's basically saying that you shouldn't have ambitions outside of doing something you want to, like, once. At one point, they kind of go back on that, and Sonic is all like, I was quick to judge you, it's hard to leave what you love. But then the guy still ultimately is like, yeah, you know what? Forget bettering myself and advancing my career. It would be bad of me to abandon my hometown. Like, no, dude, you wouldn't be abandoning anything. You're allowed to make changes to your life and move even if people happen to like you where you live. He says he wants to save lives, but then he literally, and this is not me being facetious, this is actually in the script, he saves one life out of Sonic and then is like, yep, screw my ambitions, I'm done. Everyone in this movie is a body snatcher, I swear to God. Oh yeah, also this movie is like a really long and strange Olive Garden commercial, because why not? It's fine, it's great. This is where we're at in 2020 with movie folks. The major, like, of the military, with several cars full of military people, shows up at the doorstep of this house and hands the couple a $50 Olive Garden gift certificate, like, directly for services to the country. What is happening? What is going on? And even the movie kind of tries to like address how bizarre that is by having the two of them mention it. The humor, as bad as it is, at a couple of sporadic times, weirdly seems a touch self-aware about how absurd this is. But this does not make up for any of it when like 5 seconds later, they still have this supposed to be major of the United States military do that terribly over-exaggerated, still trying to look inside the house as the door slowly closes thing. My brain is doing a big hurt. I also like the idea that Sonic just casually sheds these infinite power quills. Like, think of all of the potential good just one of those quills could do. Yes, the evil dude wants it for nefarious purposes, but we could solve the energy crisis with just like one of those babies. Basically, Sonic is kind of a selfish prick. Just the last few notes here. This movie has sequel bait at the end, and I just really don't want that to happen. That's the entire note on that. Also, the mid-credit scene has Tails in it, and he looks very similar to the redesign of Sonic, but this means there is probably a design out there for Tails somewhere that looks much more in line with the original Sonic design for this film. And oh, how I want to see that. Release the original Tails design, Paramount, you cowards. Yeah, so the future of this movie is going to be in the $5 movie bin at Walmart, where some soccer mom will pick it up for her kids to watch on repeat in the built-in entertainment system of the family Honda Odyssey. Keeping young children mildly entertained in long car rides is all this movie will ever be good for. Be sure to let me know what you guys thought about the movie. If you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe, and if you hated it and hate me for making it, be sure to let me know in the comments below. But at any rate, I hope you all have a great day. Bye.